There we go.
All right. I'm looking at the red box. Inside that red box, it says live. I'm consulting my host manual. That, in fact, means we are live. No turning back, guys. I hope this
Yep.
is a good career move. Trust me. It's good. So excited to have these two guys here this evening. It's one I've been looking forward to for some time. And as if you need one, if I could ask each of you to formally introduce yourself to the fine fans out there. We'll start with you, Gunnar.
Good evening, viewers. I'm Gunnar Nelson tonight. I'm not Matthew Nelson. That's on every odd day.
There we go.
Hello there, Matthew Nelson. Not one of the Strauss twins or Mary Kate or Ashley. Nope. And certainly not Gunnar. So good to talk.
This is breaking news. We just didn't know that. These guys are multi-platinum recording artists, of course. Matthew and Gunnar Nelson, or Gunnar and Matthew, interchangeable yet individuals unto themselves behind the iconic music group Nelson. What's even more amazing is how these guys have been able to endure such an illustrious legacy as far as multiple generations of family members, and still stand out uniquely unto their own, which is a testament to their talent and perseverance in what can be a somewhat terrorizing, frightening, frustrating industry. And to be here and to live to tell the tale, and through various stages of success stories too, which is just incredible. So with that, buckle up, everybody. Let's kick this show off. Brendan, if you would, please roll the video.
Thank you, Steve. You made it very easy for me.
Man, that always amps up my adrenaline to 12. Why 12? Because Spinal Tap's got 11, so it's one more. But I was looking forward so much to having these two gentlemen on. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, please welcome Matthew and Gunnar Nelson. Guys, thanks so much for being here this evening.
Thanks for having us. An honor and a pressure. We have been looking forward to this for a long while.
Outstanding. We really appreciate it. Yeah, talk about pressure, man. The bar's pretty high for me right now. Where do we find you this fine evening?
Well, we're actually at my music studio here at Casa de Gogo in Franklin, Tennessee. This is kind of our live room. We record our stuff downstairs, but we're able to rehearse and put our various shows together up here.
That's great. And it's got to be great to be able to control your own destiny as far as having your own gear, your own setup. In terms of flexibility?
Well, it's pretty great too. I actually spent the time and the money to totally soundproof the place. I've got neighbors not 20 feet outside this wall, and we can roast the amps at 3 o'clock in the morning and no one can hear. It's funny too. We, back in the book talks about it too. We kind of had a situation where we had no gear, like zero gear. If I broke a bass string, it was tears because I couldn't replace it for a month. I had to play with 3 strings and be like the guy in DAD. Gunnar was playing drums back then. If he cracked a cymbal or broke a stick, it was the same thing. So now we are just gear crazy, completely guitared. We've got an amazing plethora of vintage gear, which we actually use all of it, which is pretty impressive. If we took it for granted, we would actually be spoiled, but we're actually really blessed. We're really grateful for all of this stuff.
I'll tell you what, you guys have earned it tenfold for sure. So it's the least you could do is splurge on things that keep the art and the message going. And I want to mention to fans, if you'd like to ask Matthew and Gunnar Nelson a question or you have a comment, use the chat function. We'll get to as many as possible. Guys, I say this with all sincerity, but what you do is extraordinarily important, more than ever, especially, today's somewhat contentious climate. And music, has always been aligned with the word entertainment, but I think it's much more than that, especially today. I mean, it's a common thread that brings people together through your music and your art. And I love what your grandma Harriet told you. Boys, the Nelson family is never been in the entertainment business. We've been in the connection business.
Mhm.
Boy, do those words ring true today.
It's the truth. Well, connection business and getting people together is really what it's all about. It's a really divisive world, as you were mentioning.
Yeah.
But our job is to actually make people forget that when they're coming to see one of our shows. The goal is to allow them to escape for a couple of hours into a different world. And we did that from the first tour with the After the Rain record, and it's kind of carried forward. And you know, we just feel really, really grateful to be able to do this. And we feel like we've been put here as analog men in a digital world right here at this place in time to be able to get that connection going and remind people that in the world of social media, which should be called anti-social media, it's really truly about that human connection and stopping, taking your time talking to people when you're out in the world and trying to make it a better place if you can.
Well said. Yeah, and I love the term analog, and there's something about it. I think younger generations, some are discovering it, but there's something to that for sure, beyond just the social part, which is truly spot on and important. But from a sonic standpoint, there's something warm about going the analog route as opposed to the digital route, in my opinion.
It always has been. I think people have always thought in music that it's just better to use technology to move forward. There was that whole move to get away from valves or tubes and analog gear 30, 40 years ago, and solid state was all the rage. And it
Yeah,
does its thing, but we lost a whole lot in the imperfection and the distortion that I know we grew up to love. Gunnar and I were fortunate enough to be there recording on whatever we could find, but like 4-track, then 8-track, then 16, 24-track analog machines, and cutting tape with a razor blade with great engineers and learning how to use their tricks that they had to develop because of the lack of technology.
yeah,
And also kind of being curators of our dad's catalog and career and making sure that that stays around when there was no technology. You had to be able to throw down, and it was a take, and did you get it on that take? Great. And it was a Friday night, Monday morning, it was on the air.
that's
You
right.
couldn't use technology to fix the problems.
Yeah, and and on your comment regarding the razor blade, not only do you have to be careful not to hit an artery, even more importantly, you got to make sure you splice that tape correctly.
You did. Sometimes you found, the studio rebate inside those modules in the console when, some of those bands were in there and enjoyed party time in 1980.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
razor blades meant something different in the studio. Fortunately, we didn't get caught up in all that, but it was around, and there was no such thing as a non-destructive edit.
that's right. Yeah,
I tell people that we work with nowadays, the younger generation, young bucks, that
yeah,
we talk to them about the origin of cutting and pasting and what we can do on the computer with a couple of keystrokes, which is great. But back in our day when we were learning, we're really glad that we actually learned during that time when you'd have to go down to like Cherokee recording studios with 2-inch reel to reel and wait for the two machines to sync up. And
right.
when you actually wanted to change something, you better be really, really sure about that edit, because the razor blade was going to come out, and once it's gone, it's gone.
That's right.
And we love that, actually. It's kind of cool, but it was cool, and you had to make decisions because that was the point. Because when you were cutting a vocal, and Gunnar and I are singers before anything, songwriters first, singers, you have to do your takes. I remembered if you blew a take or blew a line or just a little bit flat on something, you had it was like this infernal length of time in that 1 minute it took for those machines to rewind.
Right.
There is no rewind anymore. It's all instantaneous and it'll drop you in. But before, you kind of felt that 60 seconds of shame. It's like, oh man, I blew it. I gotta do. We actually did the math. We found out
Yeah.
we were sacrificing at least a week of studio time that you were paying, gosh, $100, $150 an hour to do in the big studios.
Right.
A whole week of time was spent during the project of or making the After the Rain record, waiting for those machines to rewind the rewind.
Incredible. It's amazing to think that. Guys, congratulations. I mean, truly, this is an incredible book. It's just a great read and an amazing story on so many fronts. And just curious, I mean, for you to go back and revisit your past, and artists such as you two, generally, I think the whole, bane of existence is looking forward, not going back. But in this case, it's required obviously to complete the book and the process, but to go back and visit the success stories, but also you know, a lot of pain and challenges. How much of this exercise to write this book was cathartic versus opening up wounds? I'm sure it was a combination of both.
Well, fortunately, God brought us in together. You know, it's
Yeah,
kind of been the theme. Originally, the title of the book was going to be The Boys Have Each Other because that was kind of the buzzword around our house.
right.
And with the ups and downs that we've been through, I've been really glad to actually have a twin who fortunately has been on the same journey as me, and I'm sure he feels the same way. And yeah, man, putting this whole thing together. Originally, we had thought to use a ghostwriter, like a lot of people do. We did about a year's worth of interviews with a really talented writer,
Yeah,
and then we got the first pages back, and we realized that our voice, the way we communicate, is super specific. Anybody who's ever done an interview with us or met with us or just kind of bumped into us on the way to a show will get that we communicate in a very particular way.
right.
And those pages were devoid of that. So the only choice was to do it ourselves, which we did. And we did it in 3 weeks, start to finish, of
Wow.
20-hour days. And we had our advisors clear the decks. We didn't do any shows or anything. And we camped out here at Casa de Gago, and we just kind of went through things. And part of that was, yeah, cathartic. The other part of it was really exhausting and difficult emotionally because we made the commitment when we wrote the book from the very onset that we were going to be 100% honest.
Yeah,
And you know, that was to do a couple of things. One, it's cheaper than therapy. And two, you know, I suppose that Matthew and I have always been treated as guilty until proven innocent, coming from the family that we come from. It's not like
right.
a woe is me sort of thing. It's just for some reason, our karma has always been, you know, oh, those guys are trust fund kids, or they're pretty boys, or they're fabrications of a record company, or I mean, we've heard a lot of stuff. We were easy to dismiss, I think. Nobody really knew what it took for us to get from when we started playing when we were really young and the club stuff that we did long before our deal with Geffen and the first album and all the things that we went through. It
Right.
was kind of like the world's longest overnight success, but it was, you know, if we had a nickel for every time somebody said, hey, I'm going to be the first guy that teaches you guys about the real world, I mean, we would be millionaires.
No
So
doubt.
that's kind of what it was. And again, nothing to complain about. We look back on it now and realize whether it was, you know, our family situation, our dad being gone, our mom and dad, they had an unbelievable split up, and we had to live with her, and she liked vodka, you know. And so for
Yeah,
us, you know, we had each other in the music, and it really kind of worked its way into what we were doing. Uh, but for people to kind of like lump us in, oh, that's just a hair band, it's a Sunset Strip thing. It was actually not. We never did any of that. We predated that by about 10 years
yeah,
and then did a completely different scene in Los Angeles when we realized the hard way that you can play great, you can look great, yeah, which is important. You got to do that too. But if you
absolutely.
don't have a hit record, you don't have a hit song, you're done.
That's
You're
right.
done, you're dead in the water. So Gunnar and I had to learn how to be songwriters. And I think that part of the journey was a good thing that we get to. But more than anything, I think somebody asked me the other day, why a book now? And I said, you know, I joked, I said, proof of life. And
Yeah,
then I said, no, I think it's really because I think we are one of the most misunderstood acts ever in
yeah.
pop music. And I think it's, again, guilty of proof until proven innocent. We just did an episode of James Gunn's show with John Cena on HBO
Mhm.
Max called The Peacemaker. And
Yeah.
turned out that that amazing director was a closet Nelson fan. He loved our music and
How
held one of
great.
our songs kind of in reserve to write into one of his shows that he was going to do one day. And he found that in the finale episode of season 2 of The Peacemaker. And the scene opens with John Cena's character, who's a big hard rock fan, looking up saying, oh no, we've got to go. And the other character says, what? And he says, they're the most underrated in history. You know,
Yeah,
we've got to go see this. And they came to see a show, which was really fun. You know, again, it's almost kind of like, you know, what my wife would call a backdoor bitch, but it was
yeah.
neat to know that, you know, we understand that because Gunnar and I made our visuals impossible to deny, whether you
Right.
loved it or hated it to begin with. And that was because of a trip in England. We write about that. So there were a lot of questions that people had over the years. And of course, the first one was, what happened to your hair?
Right.
And that wound up being the title of the book. You know, we were kind of known for that stuff. I think
That's a
we
brilliant,
figured out
brilliant
too.
title. Brilliant title.
In writing all of this stuff, though, getting back to your question, I think a lot of the things that we chose to write about in this book were pieces of our lives that were so difficult to go through when we went through them at the
Yeah.
time. It was really painful to dig them up.
Right.
One of the only events in the book where we took a moment in time, like our father's passing with the plane crash, and I wrote from my perspective what that whole experience was like, and then Matthew right after it took the same moment in time and wrote his perspective of it.
That's right.
And up until right now, we never compared notes. We never kind of went through it that way. So Gunnar did his separate from me. I did mine. And it's interesting, identical twins and having some horrible thing like that happen. And, part of it was I found out on the radio, Gunnar found out on television, and we were supposed to be on the plane. That's kind of like, that's part of the junks of that. And we
Right.
weren't together when we found out, which was rare, unusual.
Right.
So it was, I mean, it's like that kind of backstory that no one really knows about, because we took great pains to not really talk about that
Exactly.
when we released our first record. Our whole point was, especially naming the first album After the Rain, was you can go through just wickedly hard times, and the stimulus can be the same, but the only thing you really have control over is your perception of that and what you do with it. And not to be trite, not to be preachy, our whole mission in life up to this point, and from this book, is really telling that story that, hey man, there's a lot of stuff that went on that you're not really aware of, that we actually chose to find the silver lining
That's
in.
right.
And that's really kind of, if you look at it, one, the boys have each other. We've always had each other's backs, which is great. And
Stop that.
right,
The two of you, break it up.
and other than that, we've always tried to take the high road and try to find the positive in everything. And we thought, starting out, that our pain and kind of overcoming all of that was going to be something that we could share with people that were a lot like us. They used music when they had a tough childhood, or they had an alcoholic parent or abuse or whatever.
Yeah.
Music was the true north in their compass and the best friend that never let them down too. And we always had that going for us. We always felt that kind of kinship with everybody we made music for. So we thought it was only fair we write about it. It was kind of bigger. It was bigger than us. And hopefully this book illustrates the point that we're pretty deep guys. We're a whole lot deeper than everybody thinks Gunnar is.
Okay, I'm not going to touch that one, but thank you for sharing that. I have to say it's bold and brave, but also appreciated that the two of you separately shared that experience, the tragic plane crash. And, I correlated it somewhat to, the legendary plane crash with Buddy Holly. The interesting thing was that theoretically you could have been on that plane. How do you go through navigating all of that? And I remember one of the passages in the book also that that Ricky had mentioned to one of you that it was his desire to take a break from the performing and wanted to dedicate some time working with you guys in the music. And it's pretty fascinating to get that kind of insight, and also how each of you found out about it, and ultimately you needed to be together to kind of get through that moment.
I think we needed to be together to get through our lives, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think it's bigger than that. And that's kind of like the whole point of the book.
Right.
Is exactly what you're saying. Yeah, it was. It's one of those things, like doing what we do for a living, what our dad did. I mean, he lived and died for rock and roll legit. He was on his way to a show when the plane went down. But, we all get into this mindset that, it's just what you do for a living, and it's just another Wednesday, or you're on your way to just yet another gig. You never allow yourself to think about what could possibly happen. And it's just like life for everybody. I'm sure no one likes to talk about things like that. But in our case, the thing that was crazy was that it happened so publicly.
That's right.
And it was a lot like the day the music died with Buddy Holly. That was another thing too. I mean, those guys were just trying to stay warm. They had a broken heater in their bus. And Matthew and I have played that same place. It's Clear Lake, Iowa. It's a surf ballroom. Yeah. And at the same time, they do a Buddy Holly festival. Matt and I headlined that a couple of times. And man, it gets cold. It's Iowa cold, man. It's minus 25, right near Minnesota off the lake. Like for real. So it kind of puts you, when you're there in that space where you're going, wow, I understand they were just trying to keep warm, but you do stupid things and make bad decisions and stuff
That's
when
right.
you're tired and you're on the road every day and you're missing your family and all the stuff that goes into it. The payoff for us is actually being on stage and getting to connect with people in the audience and do all that. And we just kind of felt that, especially after Geffen marketed us the way they did the first time out as the Sun-Kissed Malibu Beach Twins with the assless chaps, it
Yeah.
might not be a bad idea just to kind of inform everybody that, man, we've been making music since we were 6 years old and doing the LA club thing from the time we were 12 and really paying our dues. It was like the world's longest overnight success. We're still the only unsigned band in history to play Saturday Night Live as the musical guest, which is kind of cool.
I forgot about that. That's mind blowing.
Yeah, and I got to. There's a funny story with that one in the book too. Yeah,
Yes.
it's a great story in there. And at the time, Matthew and I grew up as a rhythm section. We loved bands like the Police and stuff, and I loved Stuart Copeland and I loved being a singing drummer, which was great. And then after that whole thing happened, we decided to restart, basically, kind of heal. We just lost our dad. We took a year off. I learned how to play guitar, and that's where Nelson was really born. That's after a whole decade of playing the LA clubs in a completely different format, and I think it all kind of came together. Really, again, thanks to the music. It's cheaper than therapy for sure, but
Yeah.
the greatest thing in the world is having people to this day come out and saying, there's a line in your song, After the Rain, don't be afraid to lose what was never meant to be.
Right.
And that was really written from the heart through our own experience, and people really got a lot out of that. And it's always nice, man, when you can take something that would be the undoing of a lot of people, or at the very least, it would affect their attitudes and they'd feel entitled or they'd feel bitter or whatever. I had no idea what I would have turned out like had I not come into this world with a twin. Well, we do have a chapter in the book about the year after we lost our dad. We call it the lost year.
Right.
And we were bad boys. It was we had to deal with a lot. And we talk about all of that. We could spend 3 hours talking about that, but that was quite a year. And it just was, I think there was one conversation we had with our then manager around at the end of that, because we were freaking miserable. Gunnar and I found ourselves in Palm Springs, California. Our dad's former manager was not on the plane. He was alive.
Right.
He was living down there. And Gunnar and I were down there to visit. We just kind of went for a drive at the height of spring break. And I remember turning to Gunnar saying, "Are you happy?" And he said, "I'm fucking miserable."
Yeah.
I said, "Me too, man." And the next day we drove back up to Los Angeles, and it's almost like God was listening, because some guy that we worked with, said, "Hey, we were complaining a lot about things not happening and not really having our footing."
Right.
And he just turned to us both and said, "You boys don't need to do this. You don't have to be musicians. You don't have to put yourself out like this. You can do anything you want to do. Go sell real estate. Go to college, be doctors, whatever you want to do. You can do anything, but you don't have to do this."
Right.
And it was something about him saying that at that moment. It's a different thing. You snap and go, "But I want to do this."
Yeah.
And he just let it sit there and said, "How's that feel?" And it was
Exactly.
different.
Exactly. I have to say, this is not just your average story. Yeah, people go through, all kinds of difficult times and challenges. But I mean, I think you guys are, really, really doing a wonderful thing by underselling what you guys have gone through. I mean, just that lost year, for example, would have been easy for people to pack it in. That you have many examples of reasons why you have to question, do I even want to carry on through life? And these many challenges. I was thinking this would make an amazing film. It would blow away Queen's film. The problem is would people believe it? It's going to take more than 2 hours to do it justice too, because of all the trials and tribulations, as you touched on earlier. Before you guys could even say your first words, you were kind of labeled, unfairly, because of your father and your grandparents' history. That it's like, boy, the bar was set so high. It's like, and then the public and the press also, my observations of your comments, and I remember it very distinctly, that you were unfairly being chastised for who knows why, just people being vindictive or wanting to pile on. for nothing that you guys deserved. And the fact that you could still figure out how to get through all of that and power through that is an inspirational story.
I appreciate that. It's interesting you said that. And that's kind of where the world is right now. Just had
That's
to
right.
catch up to us for a little bit. It just seems like that's what it is. Everybody's, the blessing and the curse of being able to hit a little button and reach people all over the world,
Yeah.
which frankly, we didn't have all our lives. We remember what it was like very well, not having a cell phone.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, it's a good and a bad thing, right?
That's right.
So Gunnar and I really, we were kind of the first canceled people, to be honest with you. And I understand that love-hate relationship with the media. I mean, the family television show, we ran 435 episodes over 14 years. Up until very recently, the longest running live action sitcom ever. Our grandfather wrote, produced, edited, directed, starred in every single episode, had complete control over everything. Our dad, one of the very first video artists. You had to tune into Ozzie and Harriet to see Ricky sing a song at the last 5 minutes of the show.
That's right.
And growing up with that, but what people don't know, and we mentioned in the book, was we also have another, I guess, legacy in entertainment, which is our grandfather did all of that, was never nominated even for an Emmy because he wouldn't play the Hollywood game.
Yeah, that's insane.
He wouldn't do it. Our father sold 500 million singles in his career with a B. Never even nominated for an Emmy or for a Grammy.
Grammy, right.
And Gunnar and I, I have to navigate this world with this guy. So, we have that.
There you go. Say what you will, but don't touch each other, please.
We just, obviously we navigate a little bit with humor, but we also have always felt like this is way bigger than us and way bigger than our little place in history. But if we can do anything, and why this is relevant now is I think we're uniquely qualified, to be honest with you, to navigate a microcosm of how the world is. We navigated successfully the music industry, which is the biggest collection of psychos and pimps and weirdos and grifters that you would ever want to meet. And we laughed our way through it. Now, I'm not saying we made a huge amount of money. We are one of those bands that went out there and almost killed ourselves, literally, for 2 years of unbelievable stratospheric fame, like to the point where Gunnar and I couldn't go outdoors together because it would cause a riot, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you that goes away, because for a while there, I kind of had a little bit of a meltdown. When that was going on, the nice thing about being twins is that I kind of took over for a little bit during the heyday of stuff and did all of the interviews. And then, Gunnar had to really rest. He was having a hard time with his voice and with his emotions. And then when that all ended, it was like the entire weight of the world. I just let it fall on my shoulders, and then Gunnar took over. So I think he's not wrong when he says that we really needed each other just to survive, because we did. We came close to not making it out of that whirlwind of fame. We were down to about 127 pounds each, and really, we gave it all. We put everything on that stage thinking, well, we've got to invest. That's what everybody told us. You got to invest for the next one. And we never really got that next one because music shifted so amazingly, basically on our watch. We were like the bookends for an entire era of MTV rock.
Right.
And even those guys wouldn't really let us in because we were very poppy. We had #1 Billboard pop records. And so the minute we did that, anybody with a guitar didn't want to take us on the road. So we did it ourselves. It was interesting how to navigate something that was so different. We always kind of felt our whole lives like men without a country.
Yeah.
But it worked for some reason. People still bought lots of records and went to lots of shows. So I think, we always used to joke that to a certain degree, we were kind of like the patron saints of the walking wounded. We knew how they felt. You know what I mean?
That's right.
To not fit in and be like everybody else. And that's okay, man. We learned that you don't need everybody. We're proud nerds. Revenge of the nerds.
Yeah, I love that. You know what? We need a T-shirt.
Yeah,
I think we can sell a few of those. You know what? You touched on so many things here, but I just wanted to point out, first of all, the industry that you described is the most unnatural occupation in terms of trying to live an ordinary lifestyle. It's virtually impossible. I mean, to get through it and survive is almost borderline miraculous. And then you described it too, the extremes of, where, financially, you just barely keeping the lights on one day, and the next day you can't go out on the street. And then also the financial burdens, not once, but more than a couple of times from what you inherited in the debt with your father. And I think, again, a testament to who you guys truly are, that you could have easily just signed the papers and filed bankruptcy, but you were committed to paying that off. And then, consequently, dealing with the debt that's picked up from that, what seemed like a wonderful $1 million contract you signed, but then all of a sudden, where's the tour support and the promotional support, all the expenses associated with it, and having to work through that for what was it, something like 20 years before you could pay that down? If I got
That's
that
right.
right.
We had to learn to be creative, and unfortunately, OnlyFans wasn't around, so Matthew couldn't sell pictures of his feet. So I've got beautiful feet. We had
Yeah,
to do it the
no
hard
doubt.
way, but it's really true. Our father always felt that the concept of bankruptcy, and I guess being Nelsons, we kind of feel the same way too. That declaring bankruptcy to our dad when he was alive, and our mother had strip mined him financially. He
Yeah,
wouldn't declare bankruptcy when he was alive. He thought it was dishonorable.
right.
And I know people look at it now, it's just like a financial tactic and stuff, but having a good name and a good family name was really important to him. And we felt because it was important to him while he was alive, it should be important to us as well after he died. So you're
Yeah,
right. We paid back all of his debts. The easy thing would have been to declare bankruptcy and just do that with the whole estate. But when he died, he was $4.5 million in debt with tons of creditors. And we worked, gosh, I think it was 11 years to pay back every single debt, which we did, and we're kind of like we're proud of that.
you
And he
should
was
be.
able, well, not only was he able to maintain his good name, and the family was able to do that as well. But if you declare bankruptcy, we always knew too that his name and likeness rights, his copyrights,
Right.
song written, all that stuff, that would go into the bankruptcy too. That
Yeah.
all goes away. That means we're dealing with absolute strangers who have basically taken everything he worked for. It was just too painful to even think about. And then years later, we went through the same thing ourselves.
Right.
We became immensely famous. People still know who we are all these years later, which is nice. We can go out and play shows and people come, but the reality of it was too, we came off that first tour, millions of dollars in debt on our own.
Right.
Well, we employed 45 people. We were out for almost 2 years
Yeah.
solid on the road. And we had nice buses and nice hotel rooms and all stuff. That stuff was cool. But our advisors, what people don't explain to kids who are 20, 21
Yeah.
at the time, is that, everybody takes their piece off the top.
That's right.
And then you're having to recoup or recover that money as the artist, but you're not recouping that money at 100% of a rate. You're doing it at your reduced rate. And with the record company deal, our net was like 3% or 4% of every record. So
Yeah.
you're having to pay back all of that money. And like you mentioned, we didn't get any tour support from our record company at the time, none at all. So
Yeah.
we had to be creative. And we got a publishing administration. Well, it wasn't administration, it was a co-publishing deal. And basically, we mortgaged off half of our songs on that first record. And yes, we got a check that we got to hang on the fridge, which was great. And it literally said, before we cut it up into a million pieces, it said $1 million, $1 million.
Yeah.
And that was cool. And
Yeah.
then we met the US government, and we met every manager and agent and all of that stuff. And
Yeah.
we put the band that we wanted on retainer for, gosh, about a year and a half while we were making our record. And there's a lot of costs. And we had, as he said, 45 people that I had a handout, but we were living the dream. And honestly, and we say this in the book, if somebody had come to us and said, look, this is going to almost kill you, it's going to cost you everything, you're going to go out on the road and your friends are going to have lives. And at the end, your reputation is going to be ruined, and they're going to, this grunge thing's going to come up, and they're going to make you the punchline and jokes for no fault of your own and all of that. But for 2 years, you are going to be the most famous guys in the world, and
Yeah.
you're going to be there on the big stages in front of 20,000 people a night, and your songs are going to live forever. And
Right.
we're like, where do we sign up? Let's go.
Exactly.
Let's do it all again. Yeah,
You're right.
again.
You know what dawned on me? I should have charged a cover charge for this master class you guys are giving here, but they could buy the book. So that's where the investment is. And that's my cue. I just want to get to some of the fans' graces here, and just saying love the banner between you two guys, and appreciating that you're taking the time out to be here.
Thank you very much. We were digging through some old stuff as we are getting this set up for this. This is great. Gunnar, actually, we saved the best for over here.
Yeah.
Gunnar found a box. He found that tapestry over there. And for a while there, people don't know this, we were actually the highest merchandise band in America for 2 years. Now that is a
Oh,
big
look at
button.
that.
That's a good one. Hang on a second. But no, that's cool. That's cool.
Loving that.
Okay, now hang a second. But do you have a Nelson backpack? That's a good one.
Oh my
Now
gosh.
this is an exclamation point on the end of the sentence. Okay. The Nelson fanny pack.
Oh my God.
That's an era right there when
Guys, we
men
got to
look
put
like
that on
chicks and more
sale.
baby guys.
We
Yeah.
got to put that on sale after the show, man. The demand has just gone through the roof. It's making a comeback. I love that stuff. The only question is, why no wigs?
You know what? We're going to start selling them at shows. We're going to do it. Why not? Yeah, Gunnar and I played a headline gig in Nottingham, England a few years ago. We played a
Yeah.
show opening for Loverboy here in Nashville, where we live,
Yeah.
at the Ryman Auditorium. The next night, we winged our way over to go party with the Stones. No, actually, we went to Nottingham, England, and played a thing called Firefest. And when we showed up,
Yep.
some I guess they were Italian fans, decided it was a great idea to bring a box of blonde wigs with them, and the entire audience had blonde wigs.
Wow.
It was the most awesome thing. And also, because they marketed us differently over in Europe and in England, we are a bona fide rock band. It was all
Totally.
black t-shirted dudes
Yeah.
wearing blonde wigs. Kind of
I love
odd
that.
watching black t-shirted dudes in blonde wigs singing the words to love and affection that they'd memorized phonetically back to us.
Like,
That's
guys,
odd.
if that's not validation and vindication too, right? I mean, man, check all the boxes.
There you go.
You had to feel again like it $1 million. Now you're $2 million rich before the debt.
We can pay off that loan. We
There-
can.
there we go.
You can
Yeah.
get a Pharaoh. Yeah.
Sharon Bell Deems from Chicago here, and Elizabeth Harrison saying hello from San Diego. Tina Larson Fugere is saying happy Thanksgiving, Matthew and Gunnar.
You too. You too.
And Lynn is from Arizona. We've got Karen Diane from Argentina.
Oh my goodness.
Well, you guys are global. We knew that, but
that's
it's nice
awesome.
to see that for sure. And man, checking the boxes on so many different states, but that's also my cue to remind everybody that's a great day to be a music fan. This great book is unveiled. Whether you don't have to be a Nelson fan, you don't have to be a Ricky Nelson fan. For those of you that are not quite that young and were original Ozzie and Harriet fans, you know what? This goes beyond it. This is just an amazing story that everybody really should check out. It's what happened to your hair, how we played loud, loved, proud, and never back down together. And the book is officially released Tuesday, December 16th. However, Rock and Roll Channel fans and Talk Shop Live can purchase their copies right here and right now. And it's Matthew and Gunnar's way of thanking you, fine fans. Talk about this is an heirloom and a keepsake. They personally autograph copies of the book purchased here on Talk Shop Live. To order your copies, hit the shop button on Talk Shop Live, Facebook and Instagram comment shop. We'll DM you a link. Just click it. The rest is quick and easy and pain-free. Unlike the slight arthritic condition that Matthew and Gunnar may have developed, signing for you fine fans, but likely while on their way to recovery. But I can't think of a greater way to show how much you appreciate their artistry, how much they mean to you musically, keeping tradition alive between their father and Nelson. And, you know, is all I can say is, you know what? It's better than a gift card, which once that amount is exhausted, it's worthless. Even worse yet, it becomes landfill. So just pick up a copy. You will not be disappointed. Now, when you guys, you know, when we were talking about the family, your memories of your grandfather, Ozzie, were limited because you were fairly young. But, you know, he said he was the ultimate showman, as you said, a Renaissance man. But I love also what your grandmother, Harriet, that she was so influential and how she was honest in her appraisal of your music, how to live life. And unlike the perception too, unlike many of the perceptions in this book, you guys smash it. She was super cool. Most importantly, loved your long blonde hair and seemed like one of the more stabilizing forces in the family for you guys.
Oh, Harriet was amazing, but we're really blessed. I mean, we're surrounded by really, really intriguing, interesting people.
Yeah.
You talk about pressure. Like, I want you to imagine what the Christmas table was like for us every year. You have on one side, you had, you know, the guy that wrote, produced, edited, directed, and starred in all 435 episodes, which was Oz. He also still holds a record as the youngest Eagle Scout in the Boy Scouts of America at 12.
Yeah.
Had a law degree from Rutgers. People didn't know. I mean, the guy was amazing and ran the family. Harriet started out, man, when she was really young. I mean, her parents were on the train circuit and doing vaudeville, and she was singing at the Cotton Club from the time she was 15 years old.
Right.
And then, but on the other side, we've got Harmons. You know, our mom was Kristen Harmon. Her father, Tom Harmon, won the Heisman Trophy in Michigan.
Mind blowing. I didn't know that.
Yep,
Yeah.
1940.
Yep.
It's two-time All-American. 39, he was All-American. 40, he won the Heisman and was All-American. And it was a fighter pilot and a war hero, and later a star broadcaster. He was the voice of the Raiders.
Right.
Was killer. And then his wife, Elise, which is really, we called her Nino, was the woman who really raised us. She was really our mother figure. And
Yeah.
she was voted the most beautiful woman in the world by Life magazine in 1940. There's a huge poster of Nino over there. I should probably show people this. Oh yeah, hang on. I'm gonna
Yeah.
brag on Nino here. Okay,
There are no rules except your rules.
Okay, so it's okay. It's fun. In preparing for this, we had all kinds of memorabilia. Okay, kind of did this. Okay,
It's
so
amazing.
you make the. What do you think? Was
Wow.
Nino a looker?
She's gorgeous.
I know it's our grandmother, but that was
Yeah.
her.
It's okay to have a crush on your grandmother.
Yeah, I'm not going to go that far.
Okay,
But,
sorry. I did cross the line. I apologize.
So, anyways, my mom was the oldest Harmon and Harmon child. Kristen, she was the oldest. Our Aunt Kelly was the Tic Tac lady, if you remember those commercials in the 70s.
Yeah.
and 80s. Beautiful woman. And our uncle, Mark Harmon, was Gibbs on NCIS. So
Yeah.
it was a very, he'd done great and stuff. We still talk to Mark every once in a while. He's, retired, pretty much enjoying his life with Pam Dauber, his wife from Mork and Mindy, which, yeah, a totally normal childhood we had, right?
Yeah. How about your best friends, Josh Brolin and Jonathan Gilbert?
Yes, yeah. Yep, summer camp friends and we exactly. We kind of grew up nursery school and summer camp with those guys. I haven't seen Josh in a while. I'm so proud of him. He's really crushed it. Yeah. To say that Thanos was our best friend growing up is true. And
Not many
good
can
guy,
boast
great
that.
actor. So proud of him. But there's always pressure around you. But we were really blessed to have this great social proof around us all the time. That especially being musicians with our dad and him rehearsing a Stone Canyon band in the hallway.
Yeah.
That doing that for a living at the highest of levels was possible, which was really cool. Because people ask us, "Hey, did he encourage you and all that?" He didn't discourage us, unlike our mother. Our mother did.
Right.
But our dad was gone a lot. He was on the road quite a bit. Our mother spent a lot of money, and so he had to be out quite a bit and stuff. And every time he came home, Matthew and I were still out in the hayloft in the barn, and I was playing drums and Matt was playing bass. And throughout the years, we were getting better, and we started playing professionally in the LA clubs from the time we were 12 and did that whole circuit, which was kind of cool. And it was kind of nice actually having all those people around us busy doing what they were doing as well. If you think about the three generations of Nelsons that have had number one hits, starting with our grandparents with their big band, they were doing something that was applicable for their time. Big band music, and that was what everybody was into. And then
That's
our
right.
dad started out doing rockabilly in the 50s, and then reinvented himself as one of the first country rockers with his Stone Canyon band in
Right.
the early 70s. And then Matthew and I did something that was appropriate starting out that way, doing the whole arena rock thing. We've all just kind of had a blast. And, I have to say, you mentioned Grandma Harriet. The one thing that I got to say, all this aside, and having successful records and the only family in history with three generations of number ones, according to Guinness, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. It's fantastic. It's something to talk about. But personally speaking, the one thing you mentioned was when we wrote this book, we really had to go deep. And it was going to happen because, as Gunnar said, we were really tired, really punchy. We had 3 weeks to write 500 plus pages, and it just fell out of us. But I remember one of the greatest achievements, I think, that I can speak for you on this one that we ever had was our grandmother, Harriet. She said before she passed away, she said, "Boys, I just want you to know that I respect you because out of anybody in this family that should have asked me for money, should have asked me for a handout and a little help, you never did. And you're the only ones who should have, and you never did. And I respect you for that." So that was really cool for me, personally speaking. I'm not saying that it was easy, but Gunnar and I, I think we have a sense of pride and honor and things that we just learned kind of being around all of them. I think that's what it was. And trust me, if you read the book, your warts and all, not a perfect family by any means, but it wasn't Ozzie and Harriet. It wasn't Ozzie and Harriet.
No.
But those moments, I think, coming from somebody like her that quite literally started from nothing and became something, we've always admired people like that. And we always knew that the one main ingredient was never quit.
Yeah, it's
Never
clearly
give up.
she was a proud grandma for sure. I love
Yeah.
that your story about the first recording session too. Your mother and father kind of worked up a story. Your mom said you were going to the dentist. I can't think of a worse place to go.
I
And then
know.
you ended up in the studio. Your dad produced you, and who were the background singers?
The Pointer Sisters.
Yeah,
We didn't know that. We didn't know it at the time. Just some really nice ladies and stuff, and
yeah,
they sang some background vocals and shared some birthday cake with us on our 12th birthday. And after they split, turned out to be the Pointer Sisters, and they were huge on the charts.
no
At the
doubt.
time.
Do you guys still have that recording?
Oh, we do. We
That's
actually
awesome.
hit it. We hit it on one of our albums on a CD. It was like one of those
A
two
hidden
and a half
track.
minutes in. Yeah, hidden track kind of stuff. On the Life record that we did, I think it might be. I'm not sure. I'm sure we're gonna make it available after we talk. Like right now, was the first song that that we ever wrote, and our dad knew about it. He wrote it. I was in the room at the time. Well,
Yeah,
it
you
was
were
called
there. You're
"Feelings of
present.
Love," and I was 11 when I wrote it. And nice little pop song. Gunnar played
Yeah,
the drums on it. Our dad's guitar player wound up playing guitar on it, and just a little 3-piece thing. And we were absolutely hooked by the end of that session. I mean, we wore out the cassette tape we brought home, completely wore it out. And I'll never forget the look of pride and the joy on our father's face and the look of horror on our mother's face, because she knew that they had completely created monsters. And
yeah, and
that was
some of us are thankful for that for sure. And we're the beneficiaries as well. I got to ask you as well, full circle.
Mhm.
What was meant to be just a kind of a one-off or a limited thing, Ricky Nelson remembered now is a living, breathing, live experience.
It's amazing. We honestly never knew that something like that was going to be around as long as it has been. We're playing less of those shows now, a lot less, to be honest with you. For a while, we
Yeah,
played a lot because Gunnar and I realized, I guess we've got a little bit of Ozzie Nelson in us. We are businessmen because we've made and lost a lot of money in the entertainment business. But one thing we noticed was an entire section of people were completely disregarded and just tossed away as irrelevant. And that wasn't the older people
right.
that kind of were either retired or going through their memories or whatever. And it didn't take a genius to realize that every show we went, somebody had to say something about our dad, especially because he was quite a looker and had so many hit records. It was like him and Elvis were the two biggies in the 50s. So of course he made
Right.
that kind of an impact. And promoters saying, "Hey, will you throw one of your dad's tunes into your set?" And we had just gotten to a point where we felt like we had more than passed the audition, and we loved our dad, and we grew up with that music. We thought, well, let's put together an entire show that's just a retrospective on him, and we've got all these great videos from the show and interviews, and we put together a show that was, kind of like a live version of a VH1 Behind the Music meets, an open love letter. We tell stories about our dad and growing up that are really funny that nobody knows. And plus the music's great. And the music, it stands on, I mean, Hello, Mary Lou, Traveling Man, Garden Party, Poor Little Fool. I mean, he had 40 top 10 records in his career. That's huge.
That's right.
So, and then he
Yeah.
had all the country rock stuff that he's now finally getting credit for being the flashpoint of all that stuff around with, Randy Meisner was in his band before he
Yeah.
was in the Eagles, so
But here's the
it's
thing, it's because you're carrying the legacy, you're keeping it alive. Had you guys not been doing what you had done and what you do periodically still, sometimes great music like that, fades away. Not
agreed.
because it doesn't stand up, it's just the nature of, media and how music is consumed these days.
Sure, I agree. But selfishly speaking, there's a Scandinavian proverb that says that every man dies two deaths. The first one is when his physical body goes, and the second and final one is when the last one that remembers them and loved them does too. And so for
Yeah.
us, selfishly speaking, helping our father live forever makes him feel like to us as his sons who loved him that he's not really gone.
Yeah,
I mean, and there's nothing like that feeling of meeting people for years now, decades. We've met people after shows, which we couldn't do when
right.
after the rain was blowing up. We just couldn't do it. We wanted to. I mean, we had autograph signings that went 15 hours and stuff back then, but it was clearly it mellowed out a little bit. But there's nothing like everybody wanted to tell us a story about growing up with our dad's music or with us or whatever. It was a real cool thing. Is like what Harriet said, starting with the top of this whole interview. we are in the connection business,
Yeah.
and we've lived it. You know, the reality we found was we could play a 90-minute show and leave it all on the stage, but the second show after the event was even more rewarding and better. You know, you mentioned there was somebody that's watching from Argentina.
Right.
Recently we had an entire family fly out from Brazil just to see that show.
That's
And
amazing.
I know we've flown to Brazil. That's quite a flight.
Yeah.
And to have them there and to be able to thank them in person and take pictures and tell stories. And that's what music to me is all about. You know, Gunnar and I, yes, we've got each other. We write about it all in the book. We've been through a lot, but to us, this is way bigger than we are. And,
Right.
you know, I'm not saying, you know, we're just a couple of guys that sing songs. Who cares? But no, not necessarily so. We're trying to be good guys in a really crappy business. You know,
Yeah.
that's kind of been the theme in our lives. And look, we're pretty well aware of the fact there's got to be something profoundly wrong with the two of us to want to go in front of a room full of strangers and go, love me, please.
Yeah.
You
It's
know, but
self-inflicted. Yeah.
yes, you know,
Violence, I think. Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of that with everybody who wants to entertain and wants to put
Absolutely.
themselves through that because they take on the risk, and there's a courage associated with that. But realistically, looking back on it after writing this book, we talked about it. If you want to distill it down to what it is, what's our mission, what do we do? The fact is, I know it sounds, we're joy merchants.
Yeah.
Our job is to take all the crap that everybody else is going through right now, especially, and say, put that aside. When you come in, when you put on the headphones or whatever, when you're in our world, let all that stuff go, man. You
Yeah.
know?
You're,
And
you're right.
I think there's a truth to it because the music that we write, the stuff that we played all these years, the stories we get to tell about ourselves, our family, or whatever, to us, again, we're just part of a much bigger story. And who knows where it's going to go. But I got to say, I'm having so much fun in this journey.
That's so great.
And this book, Gunnar and I, we wrote 500 pages in 3 weeks. This we looked at as like the first phase. I mean, we could have done 2 or 3 books after this.
Easily.
You know, yeah. Well, the one thing I will say this, and I don't want to put something out there to the world who's watching right now that they'll never be able to forget. But we've been really blessed and been able to do a lot of things, but not one generation of Nelson, hopefully up until this one, has had a New York Times bestseller.
There we go.
That's up to you
If that
guys.
isn't your cue, great.
There it is.
Gunnar, thank you for setting the table. That's for me to remind everybody that this book is coming out on December 16th, but you can purchase your copies right here, right now on the Rock and Roll channel on TalkShopLive. Just the book itself is worth the price of admission, but these gentlemen were gracious enough to also sign copies for you fans out there. And I can't think of a greater gift for the holidays. You've worked hard. You deserve a gift. Give yourself one as well. The gift of the Nelsons. It's just an amazing story, top to bottom, and it's inspirational as well. If you're a music industry fan, you got to read the story about the approval dance with the beard. I'm not going to name names. You got to read it. That's all I'm going to say. That was worth the price of admission alone. But all you have to do is hit shop on TalkShopLive, and those of you on Instagram and Facebook, comment shop, and we'll DM you a link. And the rest is quick and easy, and you won't regret it. Guys, I have to say, and we're kind of coming to the top of the hour. We could have done 3 or 4 hours easy and still skimmed the surface. That's how deep and meaningful, this book is. But my favorite chapter, no spoiler alert here, is all the nice things we have to say about our ex-wives. That was absolutely brilliant.
You're going to have to buy the book to read that one. Yeah,
absolutely. And the publisher, hats off. They recognized what you guys are delivering and signed off on that. And also, this beautiful stellar ending too, which again, really unique approach to the book. Those last 3 chapters, the letter to Pop, the letter to Mom, and what if Pop hadn't died. Just beautiful pieces that as well is really telling. And, kudos.
I told you, Gunnar is a lot deeper than people think he is.
Yeah, I did not know that until I read the book. But now, I appreciated the guy before, but now even more so.
That's of course, the icing on the cake. To me, my favorite part, I've got a lot of them, is the back cover, because most people, we noticed when they're looking at a book on a stand or something, they kind of turn it over to see what other people have to say about them. They're usually superlatives. And
Yeah.
Gunnar and I decided to put on the worst quotes that anybody has ever said about us. Okay, so ever. It starts with this one. So here you go, Gunnar. Go ahead.
This is breaking news, by the way. I didn't even see the back cover.
Okay, here's the back cover. These are the quotes we put on our book. These are the worst. Honestly, well, you don't have to qualify. Okay, good. Quote: I was married to their father. I'm not impressed. Mom.
Oh man,
Okay.
that's a home run right there.
There you go. Nelson's over and they're just costing me money. David Geffen. Nelson, because they can. Maybe they shouldn't. People
Oh
magazine.
man.
Okay. It gets better. Okay.
Yeah.
We burn effigies of them before every show. Kurt Cobain.
I love that.
Rolling Stone. Okay. How's this? What? You two are still here? Tony Berg of Geffen Records.
Oh, great.
It's merely a 2-word review.
Benedict Arnold, by the way, is his second name. But go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
this kind of sums up our philosophy too. Our friend Jack Ponte said, I've never met anyone who could make more out of nothing than you two. And we said, thank you. Yeah, we thought it was a compliment. Like, yeah, he said, I didn't mean it as a compliment. But okay, now cap it with Beavis and Butthead. Okay, hey.
That's amazing.
Hey, those two chicks are hot. Those aren't chicks. That's Nelson. Nelson are chicks. I get the one on the left. You get the ugly one. Beavis and Butthead. And on it goes.
My gosh. And that's what made the cut, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, you guys are amazing. I think Bill Maher took some time off. You could preempt him. I think, you know, as far as comedians, although I don't recommend, you know, if you had trouble trying to exist in the brutal lifestyle and careers as musicians, you definitely don't want to be a comedian, even though you guys are pretty damn funny, I got to say.
Well, on stage, you know what? We always wanted to aspire to be a cross between the Everly Brothers and the Smothers Brothers. But
I love that.
We took the music seriously, just not ourselves. You know, we spent a lot of time in England. You know, they have something there called the tall poppy syndrome. Basically, you get to, you know, they cut the top of the poppy off in the poppy field. And you just have to learn. Here's a reality. If you take the bullets out of the gun, what are they going to shoot you with? We're alive. We get it. But the thing is, as Gunnar mentioned, we've always taken our music really seriously. To this day, it's the most serious thing that we have. It's the fabric of who we are. Being brothers has been awesome, and we truly needed each other. It also reminds me of our philosophy too. We've got a motto, which is basically 3 rules of being Nelsons. One is be undeniably good. A couple things. Number 2 is keep your sense of humor. Yeah, because you're going to need it.
Really important.
Number 3, don't be a dick. So those are the 3 things. It's very simple. Yep.
That sounds like another T-shirt, by the way.
Possibly. I think so.
Don't be a dick.
But, you know, as I mentioned, you know, just trying to remain grateful in this world that we're in, which is really designed to assault all of us at all times, that we're not enough, we don't have enough. Yeah, that the world is burning down around us and nothing matters. I'm here to tell you, everything matters. Yeah. And in this book, honestly, every word mattered. We cared about every single one, every picture we chose, every caption for each picture. We put a lot of love into this. And here's the shameless plug. I'll shift gears without being like really, really, you know, serious there for a second. But all these are coming up. Yeah. And we figured, one, Matthew says, yeah, the book is cheaper than a T-shirt, which is true.
Yes.
And it's a real book. It actually has pages and stuff and a hardcover. It's awesome. Right. But aside from that, the holidays are coming up. And I know there are a lot of people out there that have like a top drawer somewhere that are full of it's full of candles for those last minute Christmas gifts that they forgot. The book is a lot more fun than a candle. You burn a candle, once it's gone, it's gone. The book, you know what? You can give that to a friend.
You're right, Gunnar. Absolutely. The gospel according to Gunnar. You're exactly right. What does 2026 hold for you two? Anything that you can share with us? Any breaking news?
Yeah, so much. We've got a lot of great stuff coming up. We've been doing a lot of gigs with our friends in Night Ranger, which we're going to be doing a lot more of.
Yep.
We've got a new country rock project we're going to be releasing called Firstborn Sons, which we're excited about.
Is this your first country rock album? Sorry to interrupt.
Well, kind of not. It's got a little bit of DNA. Matthew and I did a record called Brother Harmony about 20 years ago and had a lot of success with that. But this is edgier and it's under a different name called Firstborn Sons, because the reality of it is when people hear Nelson, they immediately shift to a kind of music. It's a little bit different. It's more organic and it's more a cross between, what would you say, Skinner and like Joe Walsh era Eagles. Yeah.
I love it. I haven't heard it and I love it already.
Yeah, that's more alt country than country rock.
Yeah.
We were just approached by Frontiers, which is a
Yeah.
label based out of Italy, to do another Nelson record, and
Great
it
label.
was actually working with Frontiers that brought us the record that we made that James Gunn actually got turned on to for that Peacemaker placement.
Right.
A record called Lightning Strikes Twice. I always say, if someone wants to get to know who we are musically as Nelson, get After the Rain and get Lightning Strikes Twice, and you won't be disappointed. We
love
also
that.
just signed a deal for our podcast, because we're going big on the podcast. So
Congratulations.
Probably the biggest in the world as far as podcasts. And another shout out to Nextstar. And we're going to be doing a lot of hosting for all of their affiliates all over the country. They've got 260 and growing. And Matthew and I are starting by hosting their Christmas special. I guess we're filming in a week.
That's fantastic. I'm not surprised. I'm just grateful that you guys are so busy that you're not taking my gig, because, I'd be doomed if you were going for it. And I'll tell you what, looking forward to that album. And if I haven't tortured you guys enough this evening, man, you got to welcome Matt anytime. We'd love to have you come on and share some of that music. Really looking forward to it.
We would love to do that. You got it.
Absolutely. That sounds great. And before we let you guys go, we'd like to thank the fans. And there were so many of them here, not just blanketing the U.S., but, across the globe. Thanks to everyone. I'd like to single out James Blades for reaching out to me. And he was largely the reason why these two gentlemen are here this evening. So thank you, James, for doing that. Also to Kelsey Merritt and to Grace O'Grady and Destiny William, also Eric Sherman. And there's many others that help make this happen, to our fulfillment partner, ReaderLink, who makes sure that you get these great books signed by these guys, and to Brian, Tina, Brad, Joe, Jenny, Lavani, Marty, Kate, Sam, and behind the scenes doing a great job as always, Brendan, thank you. But most importantly, to Matthew and Gunnar for continuing to share their musical and artistic gifts, in this case in the form of a book, with all of us. Guys, before we part company, we got the holidays upon us. Any last words you'd like to share with the fans out there?
Do you have any last words? Well, what I always realize, Gunnar, and why not? And this is the truth. We just want to thank everybody that's out there and everybody that's come before us for giving our family the greatest job in the world for the last 125 years.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
it is.
He approves. I do. I approve. I mean, just it's this simple. Be nice to people, and we love you.
I love that. Again, the gospel according to the two Nelsons, and I got to say, pick up this forthcoming book, What Happened to Your Hair, and it's absolutely a miraculous story. It's inspirational, it's insightful. No filters here whatsoever. If you're a music industry fan or you grew up in the music industry, there are parts in there that you will greatly appreciate, although you will be embarrassed that you represent the industry. But here they are. I mean, just I would say they're like the Helen Kellers of rock and roll, man. They have survived, and miracle workers for being here, and inspirational, as I said. So pick up a copy of it. And again, it's the holiday season. Pick up copies for your friends and family. They're unique gifts that will last a lifetime. And they have signed it. Let's face it again. It is pretty lame. As you heard, buying those candles that end up in that top drawer, or that gift card that ends up becoming landfill. This is the gift that keeps on giving, the wonderful gift of Gunnar and Matthew Nelson. Gentlemen, thank you both, Matthew and Gunnar, for being here this evening. I really enjoyed it. Time flew by. I wish we had more time to delve into it, but that's why the book's there. They can read it and get the rest of the story.
That's right. Stay tuned for part 2. We'll be back.
Yeah, that's right. It's only going to take you 2 or 3 weeks to knock that one out, right? So
That's not a problem.
absolutely. Thanks so much for being here. And thanks, everyone. With that, stay safe, enjoy life, happy holidays, rock on, and so long, everybody. Thanks again, guys.